Asexuality is not what most people think it is. For a little background, I came out as asexual and biromantic back in 2017, I think? Somewhere around there. Since then, I have gotten into countless debates about asexual characters, or characters I think are asexual, headcanons, all that fun stuff. And now I am ready to put all my findings, all my evidence, all my knowledge into video essay format. Asexuality has become more talked about in the media, which is great. We have had characters like Isaac from Heartstopper. We have had Cash, I think is his name, from Heartbreak High. And most recently, we have had O from Sex Education. The common thing that I have issue with all of this various representation is that all of these characters are on one very specific end of the asexual spectrum. And this creates a lack of awareness for anyone else on the A spectrum, because this creates the illusion that asexuality is one thing. And in the case of all these characters, they are sex repulsed or sex neutral asexuals. Characters like the Doctor from Doctor Who, Crowley from Good Omens, Castiel from Supernatural, and Merlin from BBC's Merlin are all prime examples of headcanon asexuals that other fans, people who are not in the ace community, seem to take issue with. Today, we are going to be focusing on Doctor Who. Before we kick off, we are going to have a little word from our leaders. Can we roll the clip?
Usually not a sexual thing with the Doctor. He's a fairly asexual character.
He's not that, or at least my Doctor isn't that sexual, a man. No. He's sort of asexual in many ways.
I'm going to dive into all the arguments that are made against seeing the Doctor as asexual, and why they don't really make sense. Doctor Who is a PG show, and labeling it as a PG show is one of the arguments that I have encountered against the Doctor being asexual, which is interesting because this is reinforced by the fact that, of course, they would not have the main character going around sleeping with random people, or like being very promiscuous or anything. But this is thrown out the window when we take a look at three very prominent characters in the revival's run: Captain Jack Harkness, River Song, Amy Pond. The three characters that really make this argument go right out the window. Captain Jack is the most sexual character that is featured on Doctor Who. And even more in his spin-off Torchwood. It's a lot. And in Doctor Who, my head instantly goes to Satellite 5. If you know, you know. Yes, the show does stay away from sexual content, but the implications in Jack's actions, they comment on it. The Doctor refers to Jack sleeping around as dancing, and it's kind of there's a lot of innuendos. Jack is labeled as the innuendo captain, something like that. Thanks, Mickey. All three of those characters are, like, their dialogue is ridiculously suggestive, and some of their actions. There's a lot. It's a lot. There are whole compilations on YouTube, this platform, right here, where you're watching this video, that go through Doctor Who being a family show, which you should really go watch it. It's beautiful. It's so funny. But this really highlights that Doctor Who, in the revival, I have only just started watching the 60s Doctor Who, so I don't really know if it goes any further into that in in the 60s version. But in the revival, there's so much innuendo. There's so much, like, you have Jackie hitting on the Doctor and, like, summoning him into her room in the first episode of the revival. I mean, come on. Come on. He's like, no. Icon. So I don't see that as an argument against the Doctor's asexuality. If anything, I see it as an argument for it, because this PG show, it still has all these innuendos and all these suggestive scenes with other characters, but not with the Doctor, like, actually wanting to do anything. Like, in every single time that he is in some kind of sexual situation, he is awkward, he doesn't know what to do, he actively does not want to do that. Like, unless it's, like, this is why I see the Doctor as demisexual, is because his relationship with River really, like, changes things. Because in any other situation, he's like, no, not doing this. This ain't it. But with River, now that they're, like, in an intellectual and developed some kind of emotional connection, that's when it starts to get romantic and slightly sexual. So, we're gonna dive into that a little bit later. I would say Matt Smith's Doctor is the most ace-coded of all of the revival Doctors. And the biggest example of this is River Song. Now, the blatant pairings for the Doctor in the revival are Rose Tyler and River Song. Now, I could go into a whole video essay, like, at length, of how much I don't like them pairing the Doctor and Rose together. When I look at it, I don't understand it. It feels like Doctor Who was really trying to have its cake and eat it too. It really wanted to, like, it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna address, we're gonna, like, talk about the age gap, but then we're also gonna have them be together once he regenerates. All right. But the Doctor really, like, in season 2 and forward, he really latches onto Rose as the person who helped him through the trauma of the Time War in season 1. And I feel like their bond was more so, like, codependent, and they really held on to each other for dear life instead of having this kind of equal partnership. Because, as I said, the Doctor was recovering from the Time War. He was, like, really struggling at the beginning of season 1 and wasn't really himself. And then in season 2, he regenerates and becomes this new person. And he really, like, in a way grows into being someone that Rose would be with. And then Rose is also trying to escape her ordinary life and runs away with the Doctor and goes, like, just basically through season 2, she's just kind of like a puppy dog, and I don't really understand it, but I could go on a whole rant. Moving on to the Doctor and River. These two have a really great relationship, and I understand their dynamic a lot more than when the Doctor was with Rose, because they are basically equals. They're really on the same level in the way of their intellect, and they're able to really bounce off each other and help each other in dire situations. But when they're, like, just alone, and we see in, like, the mini episodes with River and the Doctor in the TARDIS, and there's, like, multiple of her, it's a really fun little thing, because we don't usually see the Doctor and River just together, because they're usually with Amy and Rory, or they're with Clara, or in the very first episode they're with Donna, and there's not really time to chat. But when we do see them together, there is such a bond of, they understand the curiosity of traveling the universe, and they understand each other in a way that nobody else really does. Demisexual is an orientation where you feel little to no sexual attraction to other people until an emotional connection is formed. Through their adventures, they really develop a good rapport with each other. And this makes a lot more sense in the way that it develops their relationship and grows into a more romantic and sexual relationship. There is physical attraction in the Doctor and River's relationship, but it's also paired with a really close emotional bond, which really emphasizes their connection in the way that they seem to respect each other's wishes and, well, sometimes. I mean, River did, you know, create a whole alternate dimension, but this, whatever. River's comments can be definitely seen as suggestive, but it's also paired with the Doctor's responses to the comments, and with the background of their dynamic, they really sell this idea of their backstory. You can tell that there's other adventures that we haven't seen, and that they've developed this kind of trust in each other and this emotional bond that can't be broken, and one that sustains their relationship throughout the whole story. Now, this is only one example of an asexual character that is headcanoned by the fans, and yes, it has been confirmed by the actors, but overall, it is not widely accepted by the fandom because these characters don't fit into the neat little box that media has created for us asexuals, which is that you cannot be in a functional relationship and you cannot want sex at all. You cannot want romance. That is not the same thing. There is this overall idea in society, a misconception about asexuality that it is the same as celibacy. It is not. And this is especially limiting to people like me, who are not sex-repulsed asexuals, and characters like the Doctor, who and in the clip we just saw, some of the actors who actually play the character and embody those traits, see the Doctor as on the ace spectrum. I highly identify with the Doctor, and seeing them as somewhere on the ace spectrum, I personally see them as demisexual, which is on the ace spectrum, just letting you know, this is extremely important. And they symbolize the kind of ace person that does not get represented. And the fact that society won't accept them being asexual unless it's spoken out loud, or unless it is in that neat little box. They probably still wouldn't accept it if it was said out loud. If the Doctor did say they were asexual, there would probably still be some kind of pushback, because people don't really know what it means, and it's not really talked about in depth because it is so complicated, and so there's so many different areas of it. So it's a lot. It's a lot for people who experience it. It's a lot for people who don't experience it to understand. I get that. I don't understand it myself, and I experience it every day. I just found those clips of Matt Smith and David Tennant talking about the Doctor being asexual, and I almost cried. I almost cried at work. So I really wanted to make this video to educate people about asexuality, and not just to debunk the haters on the Doctor being asexual, but to also to really just educate people and to really show the representation that we need in the media. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. So that's yay. Yeah, that's it from me for this video, and I will catch you guys next week.